So this is this morning's little experiment with my 3D printing. Let's have a look and see what we've got. Take the base plate out, and here we are. Now what I've tried to do is print a basic shed and N gauge support or foundation in the transparent filament that I've got to see if it's any thinner. I don't know if you can see it there, but I've done the walls about 1mm thick. And I was hoping that this would make the transparent filament even clearer or even more transparent. The idea is that I'm doing this as a central core to a model. I'll put cladding on the outside, but that'll allow me to cut holes in the cladding, so, well, the idea was that you'd be able to see the windows through it. Now again, even though I've done it at 1mm thickness, you can see that it's still, well, semi-opaque really. It's still a bit cloudy. It's not completely clear. You can just see it. But the thing is, I think 1mm is like getting to the edge of my print limit for walls. I don't know where I'd dare try to go down to 0.5mm. If I do that, again, that might bring up the transparency of this. There again, looking at this, it looks like frosted glass. And this might actually be quite good for the kind of commercial shed that I want, the windows for the commercial shed, I mean. So there we go, that's this morning's experiment. Not entirely successful really. Dare I go down to trying to do 0.5mm thick walls? It wouldn't take long to print this. Well, we shall see.
Some time later.
Right, I've done some experimentation. Here's the original print I did on the transparent filament at 1mm thick, and as I noticed the first time, it's still a bit milky and semi-opaque. Not really the transparency that I wanted for windows on these models. So I thought I'd go down to 0.5 and see if that was any better. And indeed, the transparency is a little better, but still not exactly as clear as you would expect a window to be. But they're really nice, nicely frosted glasses. So I'll have to remember that when I want to do, say, a factory or a building that has this kind of frosted glass. Excellent. So we tried again. And here I really think I'm starting to push the limits of my printer. I believe I've got a 0.3 nozzle in my FDM printer. So I tried 0.3. This is starting to get very thin, but quite a lovely bit of transparency here. Ideal for model windows, I think. It's at a distance, it still looks a little bit semi-opaque, which is nice because, of course, with the models, you kind of want to obscure the inside detail a little bit. So I don't want it sort of crystal clear for my models. If I want to do that, I'd probably use sheet plastic. But this is ideal for the little plan I have. It's quite transparent, but at the same time, it's at a distance, it still would obscure the interior a little bit, I think. It's a halfway house between true transparency, crystal clear plastic, and the more semi-opaque effect that I'm getting with the thicker transparent filament. So there we go. There we have a result. It's quite nice. A little bit on the flimsy side, so I wouldn't use this as a model on its own. But of course, what I intend to do is use this as an interior core for buildings, which I will then clad with this textured, sorry about the rain outside, textured plastic here, and then cut the windows into this texture. God, that rain's really hard now. Cut that textured outer core to reveal the transparent windows on inside. At least ways, that's my cunning plan. And of course, I could then, with that core on the outside, glued onto the outside, that should be rigid enough then to support, say, something like a textured roof on it, to make a simple shed in this particular case. So that's the next stage in this. I'll go ahead and make this little model to see if this little plan works. But the main goal of this was to see what kind of transparency I could get at what thickness of print, and that has worked fine. So that's a 0.3 and looks very good to me. As for printing an object itself at this thickness, I just have to remember that it is pretty flimsy.